dear students, my name is Shaina Gupta and I am an assistant professor in RPIIT Medical and Technical Campus. Today we will learn about what are the strikes and how they affect the industrial disputes. Let's take an introduction of the strikes. The word strike is 100-year-old. The first recorded phrase about it was to strike work, that is used in the year 1778. In 1867, the Royal Commission on Trade Unions referred to workers having been fined for going to work in a shop that has been struck. In 1991, the world striking a firm made a note. Its metamorphosis in 1910 made the word strike the most dreaded word in the industrial corridors. Today, the right to strike is recognized as a legitimate right of the trade unions. The weapon of strike is mostly used by unions as the last measure to ventilate their grievances, though some reckless unions resort to the weapon of strike much earlier, especially when it is not warranted to do so. In modern times, strike is not something which is to be resorted day in, day out. The modern unions and managements are of the view that the production of the establishment must not be hampered, and various means and measures are worked out to see that there is no strike happening in any industry unless it is very necessary to hold it. What are the types of strikes? The first is economic strike, primary, secondary and partial. These are intended to resolve a bargaining impasse. Can only occur in connection with contract negotiations. Second, unfair labor practices strike. Purpose is to force the employer to cease committing what the union believes to be unfair labor practices. It may or may not occur during the negotiations. Third, wildcat strikes. These are conducted by groups of workers without the authority or consent of the union. Sympathy strikes. Refusal by one union to work for its employer to pressure another or the same employer in the dealings with the second union. Then comes jurisdictional strikes. To pressure an employer to assign work to the members of one bargaining unit rather than other, or to pressure an employer to recognize one union as representative of its employee when it already recognizes other. Lockouts. Management's equivalent of the strike. It can only occur legally when an existing labor agreement has expired and there is truly an impasse in contract negotiation. Why are these strikes justified? How can we justify that going to strike is good? All strikes are not justified, and nor all strikes are unjustified. If a strike was held by the workers in support of their reasonable, fair and bona fide demands in a peaceful manner, then the strike will be justified. Whereas if it was held by using of violence, act of spotagage or any other ulterior purpose, then the strike will be the unjustified one. Right to strike. Right to strike for long strike has been recognized as a legitimate weapon for workmen seeking reinforcement of rights. But it is not a fundamental right because the Indian Constitution does not consider the right to strike as a fundamental right, as it cannot be controlled by the Industrial Disputes Act if declared so. The right to strike, however, is not unqualified. It is relative right which can be exercised with due regard to the right of others. A strike therefore should be used as a weapon only as a last step when all other policies have proved futile, and it should be performed in a peaceful manner for good and justifiable reasons. M.K. Gandhi recognized the workers' right to strike, but he warned that such a strike should be conducted when all other methods have failed. According to the National Commission on Labour, the right to strike with the reasonable restraints have been recognized in all democratic societies. However, Supreme Court of India in its judgment on T.K. Rangarajan versus Government of Tamil Nadu and others 2003 6cc 581 held that the government employees have no statutory, equitable, moral to resort to strike, that they can't take the society at ransom by going on the strike, even if there is injustice in some extent. Further, the court observed that strike as a weapon is mostly used, which results in chaos and total maladministration. What are the negative impacts of the strikes? The consequences of industrial disputes are far-reaching as they disturb the economic, social and political life of the country. In their importance, they are no less than a war. As in modern wars, the casualties and sufferings are not confined to soldiers only, so in case of the strikes, the adverse effects are not confined to the employees only. As a war starts locally but has a possibility of affecting the entire humanity, so industrial disputes may affect the entire community. An industrial unrest is just like a big stone thrown into the pond, causing the wide-spreading waves till the entire pond is affected. Naturally, the workers, employers, consumers, community and nation suffer in more than one way. An industrial unrest results in, first, huge wastage of man-days, dislocation in the production work, a strike in the public utility service like water supply, power, gas supply, post, telegram, telephone, railway, hospital, dispensaries, etc. disorganizes public life and throw the economy out of gear. The worker loses wages, which may result in family disturbances, mental agonies, tensions, etc. If a strike becomes unsuccessful, then it is a burden of financial loss on the worker, which demoralizes them, disappointed them severely. Again, the employers suffer a heavy loss, not only through stoppage of production, reduction in sales and loss of market, but also in a huge expenditure incurred in crushing strikes. Stoppage of workplace results in short supply of consumer goods, which causes skyrocketing prices and leads to non-availability of products in the open market. Industrial disharmonies like strikes affecting national economy. Professor Pigou pointed out that when labor and equipments are rendered idle by a strike or a lockout, national dividend suffers by lessening the output, which ultimately reduces the national income. That's all about the strikes. I hope the concept is clear to you. For similar kind of videos, keep watching RPIIT Academics channel. That's all for today. Have a good day. Thank you.